exciting day. It's Mother's Day, and for my Mother's Day present, I get to make a traditional barn quilt. It's going to be 8 feet by 8 feet. I have my parents here with me. My dad's gonna help cut the lumber. So my next step is to use my wood filler and my putty knife to fill in any cracks, and I'm going to smooth over all of the screw heads so that I can paint over them. I have finished with the wood filler on the front side of the board. And while that dries and hardens, I'm going to put the first layer of paint on the back side. This is exterior all-weather primer and sealer. I'm gonna do about 2 or maybe 3 coats on the back and 2 coats on the front. Day 2 of working on my barn quilt. Yesterday I finished painting primer on the back side, and I was waiting for the wood filler to completely dry. So it's dried all night long and we're towards the end of the day here, so I am going to sand down the wood filler and put a coat of primer on the front side. Okay, so I have finished sanding down the wood filler, and now it's time to paint this front side. Okay, so this is day 3 of working with my barn quilt. I have put a coat of primer sealer on the back and the front. I'm going to do the second coat on the front and hopefully get to the second coat on the back today. Okay, I have finished the second coat on the front side, and now I'm on the back side and I'm going to do the second coat. I've noticed that each time I put a coat on my 8x8 square, I'm using about 1/4 of a gallon of paint or quart. So I will have probably just enough paint to do one more coat on this side, and it looks like I'm gonna have to get one more quart of white sealer to do my last coat on the back side, because you want 3 coats. And then don't forget you've got the top and side and bottom edges to also put 3 layers of your sealer. So if you're going to be investing in this project, get at least a gallon and a quart of the sealer. A really good painter's tip that someone told me a long time ago, I'm using a roller brush and it works with paintbrushes as well. I've used all the excess paint on the brush, but I'm going to be using it later today. I don't want to clean it out, so I'm just going to take my brush and I'm going to stick it in a Walmart sack, and I'm going to push the sack so that it touches all around the roller, and then I'm going to wrap my sack so that there's no air in it, and it will stay wet and it will not dry out, and it will be perfectly good to use the next time I come out here. I've even done this for the first couple of days that I have been painting. Overnight, I set it like this, and the next day it is perfectly fine and ready to use without the hassle of washing it out each time. We are finally putting the third coat of our white sealer and primer on the back side of the board. Day 4 of working on the barn quilt. I have all of my base coats done on front and back. Now I get to start the fun and exciting part. I have my measuring tools and my straight edges. I have also made a template of what I want my barn quilt to ultimately look like. And I'm going to use this to help me draw out my rough draft and pencil. I'm going to start with the border and go from there. Will this work? Oh, yeah. Let's do this, and then we'll come back and we'll fill in that line, because I didn't measure. Okay, so we are finally done drawing our lines. Lots of measuring, lots of remeasuring. Wanted to get everything absolutely perfect. I'm not sure if you can see it very well in the camera or not, but they're there. Next, we're going to tape off the parts that we're going to paint first, and I read that we're supposed to paint lightest to darkest. It might be easier if there's some light mistakes, we can cover it up with the darker paint. So I have my blue tape and we're going to get started. So finally, our board is taped with the lines that we're gonna do for the yellow paint. I have my yellow outdoor all-weather paint. It has a UV protection because this is gonna be outside all year round. Once it's put up, we are not moving it. So I'm gonna go ahead and start. Let my first coat of my two colors behind me dry overnight, and I'm going to put my second coat of these colors on today. Day 6 of working on the barn quilt. I have noticed that my previous two coats of paint are definitely not enough. I'm doing really thin layers because I was scared that it was going to start dripping and look goopy. So with my thin layers, I know that I'm gonna have to put a third coat on everything. Day 9, working on the barn quilt. It's been a couple of days, so here's an update. I have realized that going the cheaper route is not always best. I have this tape. One is a little bit smaller than the other, but I bought it because it was cheaper. And I learned a lesson that you probably should spend a little bit of extra money and get the thicker tape, because I'll show you why. Right here, you see the tape was only this wide, and my brush just barely got over here on my yellow. So I'm pretty upset about that. I'm gonna go touch it up. I did it on several spots, and as I was working and doing the red, I got carried away and I flung a spot there on my blue. So I'm gonna have to touch up a couple of these areas, but the bigger tape allows you much more mistake room. So definitely go that extra $1 and get the better tape. The day has finally arrived where we are putting up the barn quilt. It's an exciting day, y'all. Hey kids, look excited! See, told you, exciting day. As you can see, we decided to put the post about 2 feet into the ground with cement, and now we have it clamped to our post, and we're putting in 4 lag screws on each post. Pre-drilling our holes. Screwing in the lag screw. And screwing in the lag bolt.